Okay, so this afternoon we have a special guest. Bernie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Bernie. So that's short for Bernadette, but I don't necessarily feel a connection to that name. So thank you for introducing me as Bernie.
Okay.
I feel like in formal settings, it should be Bernadette, but yeah, I'm trying to get used to maybe one day just being Bernie, like the way that Prince is just Prince and Madonna is just Madonna.
Yeah, nice one.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm currently residing in inner west of Sydney, which is my favorite area to live. It's so beautiful and rich with diversity and culture and inclusivity, and it's pretty much my safe space, where I feel truly seen and heard, which is, I think, really important for a queer person such as myself. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I'm a avid lover of all aspects of improvement and healing and growth. And one of my favorite things to talk about is feelings. And more often than not, I'll start my sentences with "I feel" rather than "I believe" and "I think." And my friends and I joke that I'm no thoughts and all feelings, and that pretty much sums up my thinking brain. But I think also, like, a lot of people feel a lot more than they like to admit, and I think we get into this habit of, compartmentalizing and everything, and then blocking off that emotional side of our brain. And I think sometimes we do have to do that, and it's important. But I think it's also really important to, unpack what we're feeling and learn to truly connect with how we're feeling.
Yeah. And hasn't this pandemic been a great time to reflect on that, right?
Seriously, it's just forced us straight into it, and it's been so sticky and uncomfortable, but coming out of that is so rewarding.
Fantastic. And no doubt there's a creative spirit behind you there with all tuning into gut instinct. It's so powerful.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so my first question getting into this campaign is to ask for knowledge share. What is one mental health tactic that you yourself use that you've found like is a go-to tool just to help mental wellness?
So I have so many different strategies, and and it really depends on what my needs are at any given time. But one thing that I pretty much fall back on time and time again is self-care.
Yep.
And that's something that also has so many different facets to it, and I think, I'm such an angry human if I don't fit it into my routine. Like it's become so ritualistic that it has to occur, and I feel it bubbling up, it's like, oh, I need a moment to do something nice for myself. And I think it's something that is so necessary, it's definitely a need. We all need it. It's not a want.
For sure.
I feel like it's something that should be normalized, as a part of, your everyday routine.
So let's break down self-care a little bit, because I saw an article. It's not just about bubble baths and all sorts. I know we have to interpret what self-care is individually, because something may work for one person versus another, but what do you see is self-care for you?
So for me, while bubble baths and Netflix binges are fantastic, self-care for me is really checking in with my emotions. A lot of the time, and while a bubble bath is also a nice form of self-care, say if I've had a very busy day and I've been run off my feet, then, you know, it's a nice thing to do for your body. But I think a lot of the time when I am in need of that self-care, it's to check in with myself emotionally. And so journaling helps for me a lot. Yeah, just to kind of put it all down and have tangible words that I can see to kind of tune in with how I'm feeling.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that one. And it's good to get this conversation happening, right? Let's unpack it, because it may be a misconception or lots of stigma around what, you know, around the topic of mental health and the topic of what self-care is and the topic of too weak to have feelings, all sorts of things there. So look, we won't go into that too much. We don't have enough time. Let's just stick with the next question for now. My question to you is, what is one message of hope that you have for someone right now? So this pandemic has brought up so much for so many people, and there could be people right now experiencing the eye of the storm of, there's a mental health crisis right now and they've never experienced it before, you know. And what I've realized is a lot of us have some level of experience about being tenacious or overcoming adversity. And because I'm here now, I'm doing okay. But for someone that is right in the eye of the storm right now, who could be hit unaware with it, what type of thoughts or advice, what's your message of hope that you can share for individuals right now who may need to hear it?
So I hope that this will help, and there's that word again. But you know, the word hope, it makes me think of a quote by Desmond Tutu, and basically it's hope is being able to see that there is a light despite all of the darkness. And so I guess my message of hope would be to not give up on hope. It's the one constant, you know, or one of the many constants. There's a few. But, you know, hope for a brighter future with less grey matter, and hope for healing, and hope for growth, and hope that things will get better even if you can't see it. Because I guess I'm going to bring in another old proverb, which is this too shall pass. And, you know, I think that quote has really withstood the test of time, because, you know, it's it denotes that, you know, no matter what you're going through, whether it's good or bad or absolutely awful, it's all transient, you know. And so when you're in a really bad place, particularly, I think it's important to remember that, you know, that moment will pass.
Yeah, for sure. Which no doubt in that moment of the eye of the storm, it's so hard to think of that, but that's why we are so important, being individuals that are surrounded by others, community. We're all connected. So if just one person can remind someone else that, you know, we can remain stronger together. Another great quote, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm usually not a big quote person, but that just made me think of two, which was interesting.
No, it's a good one. Now I'm just thinking of the hashtag, you know, stronger together. So yeah. Anyway, this is a suicide prevention initiative, and we have been asking individuals who may have lived experience just some insights, whether it's themselves or supporting other people during that time of need. What are some direct actions or insights to share that could be helpful to this community?
Well, I think it's important to not be scared about suicide. You know, I think people tend to kind of think, oh, it's a scary thing, and they try and avoid it. But I think it's really important, and especially, you know, if you know someone who is like having suicidal ideations or thoughts, to really just be there for them and to listen, and to offer your support. And a lot of the time, like I've had an experience with a friend. It was a friend of a friend, and he found out that, you know, she was suicidal, and he didn't know how to approach that. And he was like, can you please help me? I know that, you know, you have the capacity for these things to just be able to be there and to listen. Can you please help me in this situation? And so there was a moment of hesitation there for me as well, because I was like, I don't know this person, but I found myself just lying awake at night, and I was like, no, I need to do this. I just felt like this is something I have to do. And so I spoke to this person, and I really just listened to them, and they ended up unpacking a lot of what was happening for them and a lot of where their emotions were coming from. And, you know, there was a lot of listening on my part, but there was also a lot of words of encouragement. And sometimes, you know, people really, they don't have that, or they don't get that from anywhere. And so, you know, that little push to kind of help them move forward from this thought pattern that they've developed is, I think is quite helpful.
You know, you sharing that story to me, I feel like I don't know you, right? I've just met you a second ago, but my gut instinct is you're an outstanding person for doing that. You know, because it's like our body feels fight or flight, because you had that chance to flight and steer away from that difficult conversation, and you kind of, like, it sounds like, took that time to decide that mindful step forward, which made a huge difference in that one person's life. And that is where we need to get community everyday citizens to, for sure. And of course, you do come from a social work background, or you're studying towards it, so naturally more empathetic. But thank you for playing that role in that person's life. May we see more gestures.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
No, it's a fantastic demonstration of bravery. And of course, there are like some social services that can click in, that can handle some of these conversations if any individual feels like that conversation is too overwhelming for them, or if they do feel, I'm going to use the word flabbergasted, you know, tongue-tied, I'm not quite sure what to do, it feels like I'm overwhelmed here. You know, you can tag team. There are some great professionals out there, you know, crisis phone services out there that we can lean on. Even like I've found in my role, I've certainly called my fair share of the emergency services. And what I found is the ambulance, for example, on the other end of the phone, they are so cool, calm and collected, you know, and they will talk you through what to do. The basic reminders of, you know, if you're that person supporting someone else, taking that deep breath, staying calm, what you just shared before, you know, reassuring, you know, it's unpacking some complicated circumstances, but reassuring them can help that basic need to talk, that tendency to snap, how do you say it, like a thought process into, actually, I'm present, being here with you, because you've allowed that space. So thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
No
It was
problem.
interesting because, you know, this person then went on to get counseling, you know,
Fantastic.
and to really get to the root of where all of that was coming from. And you know, I mean, I can't say that it was because of that one conversation, but you just don't know where this conversation that you might potentially have with, you know, a person in need will go. Like it might, you know, it might just encourage them to get the help that they need, that, you know, it's really going to make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, and that, I would say, is certainly a best case scenario. choice was made and it changed like a pathway for them, and good on them for taking further steps forward, you know. Hopefully what could encourage that individual is that development of trust, because, you know, what I'm not going to go too far in depth with this, but what I find complicated in this health system sometimes is, you know, sometimes the health system's not great, or sometimes there's like a crack in the services or a massive waiting list, or it's like, but I need help now. It's like individuals can be in terrible situations and, you know, needing roofs over their heads or domestic flights. You know, there's all sorts of very serious issues, and we want those services to be there so that we can rely on them. And sometimes they're there, and sometimes it takes hours for the emergency services to get there, you know.
Yeah.
But like, bringing it back to the point is, hopefully that individual has learned a bit of trust, you know, that there is humanity there and that there are people there that you can rely on, because it's almost unfair if we are in that crisis moment of I need help now and I need everything to drop just to respond to it, because it's very difficult, like sometimes for crisis support services to be able to answer that call in that high need of desperation. So hopefully we can build that trust so that if they're ever in that point again, they've learned that they can actually ask for that help a little bit earlier, you know. Ideally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when you're in that really dark headspace, you're just like, no one cares about me, you know, like, and that the reason why the wait time is potentially is because, you know, no one wants to help, and things get catastrophized and taken out of context.
And the shout out to the emergency services, because they are freaking brilliant. The amount of times that they've come in to serve community, you know, and overextended themselves. It's just, it's that perspective of understanding that, you know, maybe there's another 10 people, you know, in high need right now that need that response here too, you know. And it's a difficult pathway of red tape, all sorts of things. So kudos to the emergency services as well.
Yeah, wonderful. They're legends.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for this campaign. I mentioned before, if someone wants to stay in touch, what I might do is just tag you on Instagram initially, and no doubt we'll keep you posted with the campaign.
Yep, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of the 100 Stories campaign. Really appreciate it and look forward to sharing more stories shortly.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Not a problem.